And it is just a couple of weeks before Christmas. So people are doing their Christmassy thing, aren't they? It's that time of the year when, here's Gemma, when exciting time of the year. So welcome. Good to see you in December. And this is one, and one is about to start on his journey. Well, he's actually started writing, haven't you, one? And he's we're about to start working together in the new year, aren't we? So I just thought it'd be good for him to meet you guys. You're an inspiring group of people. So this is, what's the best way to pronounce it? Is it Juan? We need to give that the Latin Juan. How do you pronounce your first name?
Yes, it's Juan,
Juan.
like a J is like H in Spanish
Right. Okay.
without sound.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, welcome, Juan. And hello, Jam.
Thank
How
you.
are you?
Hey Andrew, how's it going? Hey everyone.
Good, good, good. Okay. Well, here we are, December, 2 weeks before Christmas. And how are we? We all good? As we think about the year of 2023, and why don't we just start with a bit of what I want to hear is what's been the thing you're most proud of in 2023 so far? It's not over. Still going. There's still 2 weeks. Well, there's actually still 3 weeks in 2023. What so far to this point, what would you say is the thing you're most proud of in your journey to write your book, or breakthroughs, or clarity, or, and I know there's some obvious ones here, but anyone want to kick us off?
I can.
Go on you, Jem.
Sure. Probably for me it'd be two things actually. One was going on the retreat with everyone in, when was that?
July.
May? July? Months are disappearing. That was actually pushing myself out of my comfort zone and sort of meeting a whole bunch of new people, but it completely sort of, I guess, switched a few things on my head, which was really good. And met a lot of amazing people at different stages in their journeys, which was, yeah, just really inspiring to be with a bunch of other people with a similar mindset as all of us.
Yep.
And in person is, you know, the dynamics just build within that. The second would probably actually be just what I finished in November, which is I actually participated in the first time for NaNoWriMo. And I actually started and finished writing a book in November.
That's incredible.
So 23 chapters, 57,000 words.
Wow.
And I got to the end of it, and I have to admit I was a little tired.
You were spent.
I was very spent.
You used up all your words.
That's it. But it completely helped. I started a brand new series, and I've already worked out another 3 books within the series, and I've already started drafting the outline of the second book. So it's really just kind of given me a push, which I wasn't really expecting. I didn't plan to do that at the start of this year. It was something that I actually decided in October to do in November. So it was a bit of a big challenge, but something I'm very proud of.
You should be. That's incredible. That's wonderful. So just for people that maybe don't know what NaNoWriMo is, what is that short for?
It's National Novel Writing Month. And so the whole point is that basically writers and authors throughout the world basically commit to starting writing a novel on the 1st of November, and the hope is to have it finished by the end of November. So there's a lot of people who actually compete and put those sorts of things, but mine was more of a personal challenge within that. So yeah, that's what it is. So it's basically I guess a month dedicated to writing, which is a really nice thing to do.
That's awesome. Well done, Jam. That's so good. So your 2023, that's been a real catalyst for you to, I guess, a resurgence and a refresh and a renewal, isn't it, for you?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's wonderful, because you can get in any journey with anything, it can get stale and it can get a bit stuck and you can get a bit lost. Sometimes you need to disrupt, don't you? And you've done that,
Yes.
which is awesome. Hello,
Very much
Justine
so.
and Sue.
Hello, Andrew.
Good to see you.
Apologies for any noise in the background. I've got 4 kids running around.
That's all right. No worries. What we're doing is we're just reflecting on 2023. For anyone who wants to share just what's been wonderful for them this year. So Gemma's just shared some good stuff. Who would like to maybe go next? Doesn't have to be big. I mean, see, Gemma's set a pretty high she set the bar pretty high, isn't she? I mean, oh my gosh, she's been to Bali. She's written a book in a month. It doesn't have to be quite so. What's the word I'm looking for? Extraordinary. I mean, that is extraordinary.
It was a big year after some low years.
Yeah,
So that's what I would say. If I was doing this at the end of last year, it would have been a much smaller
yeah.
recommendation. Yeah.
All right, so we'll be back in 10. We'll see you shortly. Well, but so
I've had a massive year.
well, you have, Justine, but I've got to. I mean, if you were to tell everyone about everything that happened in your year, that would take up the whole hour. So you're going to have to put this in fast forward, okay? I mean, just
Right.
reel off some of the great things that happened for you in 2023.
An Amazon best-selling book, which is still sitting in the top 5. And it's been there since September. I met the Duchess of York. I've had 2 writing retreats. Then I became Geelong Business Leader of the Year.
Is that all?
No, I won 4 other awards with the Osmumpreneur. And I'm back writing again. So, and I'm also in another anthology that is out as well. So, yeah.
Sorry, Juan, I think we're probably scaring you at the moment. Are you good? No, this is inspiring, mate. This is the reason why Juan's here is to just check out and see what's possible. And so far, Gemma and Justine are just showing what's possible.
Yeah.
In just with a decision, just simple decisions. That's all this stuff is. Gemma said, I'm going to write every month. I'm going to write a novel. Bang. The decision was the hard work, right, Gem? It wasn't probably the writing wasn't easy, but the decision is, it's will I, won't I, should I, shouldn't I? When you make that decision to do it, it's amazing how obstacles that seem in your way seem to crumble away.
Yeah. And I think as well, when you put it out there and share it with people and you give yourself some accountability to that.
Yeah.
You know, I did that when I made the commitment to go to Bali, and the same thing I did with November with NaNoWriMo. It was just putting it out there, getting additional people supporting that commitment. So not in a negative way, but just in a positive, uplifting way.
Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it? When it goes from fear before the decision to actually excitement when you've made the decision and you've locked in on it. Oh, I don't know. I find that. I mean, there's always a little bit of fear there, but you know, going to Bali, which that's a bit fearful. But once you made the decision, it's almost like, wow, now I'm looking forward to it. And right, you know, so I think the decision is such an important part that often we procrastinate and we maybe justify that we've made it, but we haven't really. I know I'm talking from me here personally, where you dip your toe in the water and you think you've made a decision, but you know when you've made a decision, right? You stop making the excuses and discomfort's no longer a barrier. You know, that's the time when you know you've really made a decision. So there's 2 beautiful examples. Who else would like to share their 2023 with us, or just a Sue?
Oh, thank you, Andrew. Justin and I were talking this week, and we realised it was last December that I saw your Do You Want to Write a Book? Do you want to write a book on LinkedIn?
Yep.
And I said to Justin, what do you think? Should we? He said, why don't you send off a little inquiry, and maybe we'll set up a half an hour Zoom with Andrew and see what happens. Well, here we are 12 months later. We've got our book publisher contract. We've just been doing the line edits with our editor, deciding on the cover, looking at the title, and a publication date release next August. So that's was a matter of, didn't know who you were, Andrew, liked the way you sounded on LinkedIn. I was in that. I've had the mantra at the time, say yes and go first, to my 2 statements to myself. Post my career as a teacher, what do I do now? And happy to say, when we put out our newsletter a week ago, we could say we've got a book published. We've done our first wellbeing and cultural contract with a business. Our first year laid down, and they've rehired us for a second year to work with their whole team. And we've written now 101 blogs to date. So that's my little record. 2 years. That's 2 years, one a week for 2 years. So that's my little record. When I saw it all together in the newsletter, it was a moment. It was a big moment. So thank you for that.
You're welcome, and well done. Isn't it good to stop? Sometimes to stop and look back and go, look at what I've done. Look at and again, not, you know, if you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, all these people that are achieving amazing things, you still need to look back at some of the decisions you may have made that may not have resulted in a massive achievement, but have resulted in some peace of mind, or have resulted in some clarity, or have just, maybe you've let go. We spoke at the open forum on Saturday morning about sometimes parking it is the right idea. Sometimes deciding to put it on hold is actually the decision you need to make. You know, I don't know if you've ever done something and in your head, I've got to do it, I've got to keep going, I've started this, I've got to finish it. Sometimes going, this is not, I'm not enjoying this anymore. B, it's not serving me anymore. Maybe I've just got to park it. Sometimes that's the greatest decision you can make. So, and as I'm sort of encouraging you to share right now, it could just be something like that, or just some decision that you've made that's just taken some weight off your shoulders, or given you some clarity. So, but not diminishing anything. So that's an awesome 12 months, because I've been just one, and we're talking today, and we're talking about the 12-month program, and he's tell me about the 12 months. Well, Sue is a beautiful example of what can happen in a 12-month period. Her and her partner have written a book, published got a publishing contract, and that's all happened within a 12-month period. So it's incredibly doable, possible, when you focus. I mean, Sue and Justin have really focused on the job at hand and been very good students. They have been.
Thank you. Just one more thing before we move off us and on to somebody else is my other major lesson for me, everybody, was to stay with the process. And I know I got this through many of you, Justine, Andrew, who've said that let go of the outcome really was freeing. If you go about your business each day, you set your targets, you know what you want to do, and you chip away like that, and when to a certain extent you get to a point where it's beyond your control, that part is within your control. And I learned not to define success or how successful we've been by those externals. It was, I could say to myself, you did today what you set out to do today, and release it till tomorrow, and you'll sit there again. Trust yourself, you will, and stay with that process was a major lesson for me.
That's good. That's awesome. Well done.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Sue. Wonderful. Who else wants to share? What brought you glee in 2023? Lesson, opportunity.
Okay, I'll share. I might be a repeat a little bit of last time, but the last couple of years have been quite interesting for me living in Italy, and it's quite tough because I don't speak the language, and just having, I won't tell you some of the horrendous stories, and just dealing with, the bureaucracy and the being treated like a child because you don't speak the language and the normal stuff. And so a lot of the time my book has actually been my little thing that it's been able to, when I just wanted to spend time with myself and do something for me, it's been my escape. Admittedly, there's been times as well when editors come back with edits and I've said, oh, I don't want to cope with this, and taken it personally. But it has been my escape. And even those times where I've taken it personally, it's been my opportunity to rise above that. So it's kind of been one of those double-edged swords where it's been tough along the way, but it's also been really, really encouraging. And there's been a number of times I've wanted to kind of throw in the towel when I've taken the edits personally or the comments personally. But this week, my book has the front cover's been finalized, finalizing the back cover.
Oh,
it should be
awesome.
out in January. I've got it with the pre-readers at the moment. So, you know, it probably was a little bit longer than the 12 months exercise. But that was more because of the other stuff that was going in my life. But it's very doable. So
Yeah,
thanks, Kat.
and that's awesome.
And yeah, it's just been a case of when I have wanted to throw in the towel, a bit like Sue was saying, rely on the process instead of kind of getting caught up in the, oh, I can't cope with this anymore. So rely on the process and just do a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more and eventually kind of get there. So
Yeah,
I think that's what I'm happy is that I didn't throw in the towel.
good on you. That's awesome news. And congrats on the cover. You happy with it?
I'm very happy with the cover, yeah.
You haven't by any chance got it, have you? You can share it with us. Is it on your computer?
No, not yet. It will. I do, but it's still very much under wraps. And sorry, my husband is the only person. But my husband is the only person who has seen it other than me. Even the pre-readers are not getting to see the cover. So it'll be part of the sort of the marketing process. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I mean, what a beautiful example. I mean, discouragement and doubt and fear is part of the journey. And I think what you've done, Glenda, just to keep going and keep, you know, you can't every month you attend these things. And I think that's one of the power of the community, isn't it? It's just, I think, just as you're hanging on by your fingernails, you know, you get a little bit of a lift of encouragement and just to refocus on why you're doing it. And I think there's always emotion attached to every journey. And if you can replace the emotion of the doubt and the fear with the emotion of how it will feel when you get to this point where you've got the cover and it's you know, you've got the publishing contract, when you can imagine that feeling of when that happens and let that override any other fear, the doubt or the fear or the uncertainty, that'll keep you moving forward. So
yeah, well, that's it. Oh, it's a bit like Sue said, control the things you can, and some of the stuff you can't control, and you've just got to kind of do what you can and see how it plays out. Yeah.
Congrats. Well done.
Thank
Wow.
you. Thanks to everyone, because
You're welcome. No,
I think it's what do they say? Raising a child takes a village or whatever. I think writing a book is pretty much the same.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Good one. Let's go next. Yeah, Sue, I'm looking at you. Sue Smith, I'm looking at you. Yes. Before you duck off again. Tell us what's been good about this year for you. What's been a breakthrough or a lesson or an insight?
Well, it's more of the what's been good. There's lots of things, I think. Just picking up on what you were saying, like the reframing bit of, you know, what is good about this. I think some of the decisions I've made have loosened the entanglement of life I've had that happens, I think, to us all, and beginning to feel a little bit more movement and a bit more capability to move on. And I think that's been quite a big thing. And yeah, I need to give myself credit for doing that. So that's good. I've also done things I felt really uncomfortable doing, like to the extent of visceral discomfort. And
like what? Like what, Sue?
Killed me. It started actually killed me because I'm still here. Like what? Well, just presenting. I had a big corporate thing that I was doing, and it wasn't something I'd done loads before. My background's medicine, so I'm used to the one-to-one comfort zone, which I love. And
You're used to putting people under anesthetic, and you can't talk. You have to talk to them. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. Yeah, stuff, you know. So yeah, I've been moving into the whole coaching world the last kind of decade, and I love it. And it's very much health wellness kind of perspective, if you want, from obviously my background, using my insights and wisdoms from the last few decades of medical life. But yeah, this was the same theme, but yeah, kind of, I know some of you have worked with corporate, so it's been a good but very uncomfortable growth for a bit like a teenager. I think thinking about it now. I've gone through a few teenage kind of things. So yeah, and then also just the shift to a little bit more self-care, particularly that I've had various things with my physical health going to a certain time of life for I think both men, but particularly women, facing some things that you take for granted, like being able to do things, and I haven't been able to do them, so I've had to kind of reframe all that. The book, I think the good thing about the book, I mean, obviously listen to all this kind of lovely trajectories of traditional book writing. I've not actually done much on my book, but I'm actually still here. So
Yeah, absolutely.
And I do have a question, but rather than going on that right now, and I've created Jean's Not Here, which is such a shame because she's got such a big win. But yeah, created a great buddy in Jean, and that's been really, really powerful stuff. And I've also made some training, coach training, which has been really powerful and impactful for me, and yeah, stepped up, done some presentations that I didn't think I'd do, done them badly, some of them really badly, really kind of like cringed.
Well done. Yeah, they've got to be bad before they get good, right? We've all been.
Yeah, so yeah, kind of few things, and I think I've got all three children kind of into a slightly safer space in their lives. So no, I haven't, I've just observed them, but that's been good. So like lots of little things.
That's awesome. Well done.
But, yeah, in terms of the context of authorship, I think just building up that muscle really, and just being here, listening to all your stories, and finding ways forward.
They're very inspiring, aren't they?
So clearing the decks with a little bit more.
Well, it's important that there's so many people that get to the end of the year and go, "Oh my gosh, what a crappy year that was," and they forget about all the great things that actually did happen in the year. And I really want to encourage you to look back on 2023, whether or not you achieved the things you thought you would, to look back at it as a good year. But also know, and I've said this, this has been my theme with my blogs and stuff over the last few weeks, is the year's not over. And, right up until the 31st of December, 2023, something could happen. You could make a decision that changes that whole context or that whole perspective of the year, and you can look back and go, even for the last, it's the 12th today, the last 18 days, 19 days of this year. Imagine if you got into writing and you wrote every day for the last 19 days and you finished a couple more chapters, and all of a sudden you're feeling really strong and positive, rather than limping into the year going, "Oh, well, I didn't do as well with my book." You can still do it. The year's not over. And I just want to encourage everyone that win the day idea that the moment we say, "Oh, next year," ooh, danger. When you catch yourself saying, "Oh, I'll wait till the new year," I think that's the biggest trap you can fall into, because what you're then doing is you're putting things off, and you're allowing yourself to wait for the weekend or Monday or the next week, or when the weather gets better, or when some perceived better time will happen. Well, I think we're all pretty aware that there is no better time other than this one. So yeah, so that's awesome, Sue. Thank you for sharing all that.
Well, that blog made a difference, actually. I just want to feedback that one. It was like, yeah, that's cool. I'm clearing the decks. Between now and Christmas is actually going to be quite an active time in lots of different ways. So, yeah, absolutely. Have a vision of shooting into the new year, rather than just like closing one door. More momentum going into it. So, thank you. Yeah,
you're welcome. Because there's still lots of this year left. Awesome. Good on you, Sue. All right. Who wants to, anyone else want to share some ideas, thoughts?
I can. Mine's like the opposite end, but that's fine.
No, you've had some good breakthroughs this year, Kat. Don't diminish the decisions you've made.
No, I'm not diminishing. I'm just saying opposite end, and that like I shelved the project that I'd been working on for 3 years, almost 4 years. So
it is, wow. Amazing.
Yeah, so it was a collaborative. Most of you know, but it was a collaborative project, and the main collaborator was no longer collaborative. Nothing wrong. He's just bit useless. And I just got tired of dragging him tooth and nail. Like I did all the, for over 2 years, I touched the book every day, worked on it every day, got it to the point where it was, I needed his bits, and we needed a reviewer. And I was told Andrew earlier in the week, I'd be, setting up my next notebook for, well, I'm about to run out of space in this one, but timing wise works anyway. And I was just going through the pages and checking which things I need to migrate to my next notebook, and like holding pages, not the day-to-day stuff. And I found the list of things that needed to be done for the project that I put in this book before January, so probably December of last year, and not a single one of them got ticked off this year. So I'm very pleased that the whole thing has been shelved. That was a choice. And yeah, it's definitely been a weight off of me. I'd gotten to the point where I didn't want to even think about writing, hated it, just wasn't interested in it. This book was not my passion, definitely not anymore. So yeah, I still think that the concept was cool. Maybe someday something, but if not,
One
no
day,
worries.
maybe.
Yeah, maybe, but if not, it's no big deal. So yeah, and then I did not do anywhere near as much as Gemma did in November, but I did start just writing, creative writing again. I can only imagine how tired you are, Gemma, because I was just trying to do a little bit each day and like new projects and like just like no hard anything, and I was like, oh, so tired. I had to tap out partway through, but yeah, it was fun to start just writing again, and just giving myself some space to reconnect with what I actually want to write. So yeah, that's where I am now, and that's also just created more energy for other things, just reconnecting to the why or the lack thereof, but just more space, more kind of, one less unpaid job, which is what it was definitely becoming. And yeah, so shame Justin's not here. I managed to sneak the Get It Done app book out of the library app. It was available, and so after his recommendation last month, I started reading it, and it's been really interesting. It focuses on setting goals and structuring goals, and how to, if goals feel like chores, they're not fun. And I definitely, that was a thing for me, because that whole book had just become a massive chore. There was no goal. Like, didn't care what the cover looked like. I didn't care at all. So yeah, it's nice because I don't have any sort of end in mind now. I don't know what I'll be working on, but yeah,
That's exciting.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Well, that's awesome, Kat. And that really is, because firstly, it takes a lot of courage to something you've been working on for 4 years to park it. That takes guts. So well done. Now, the fact that you can reconnect with the joy of writing, because I remember when we first met, probably
I actually enjoyed it.
pretty close to 10 years ago.
Yeah,
In South Australia, Gem.
Yeah, Gemma was at that event.
That
Number 10.
I could just see in your eyes the love and joy you had for writing. I could just see it, like in the way you contributed at that event, and it was just bursting out. And this project has stolen that from you, and the fact that you can now reconnect with that is a big win, I believe.
Yeah.
I think that's something to celebrate for sure. So well done.
Top.
Yeah.
Hello,
Deb.
Hi. Firstly, can I apologise? I'm sitting here frowning because I've got back pain. I've hurt my back.
Oh,
Anyone that's had back pain can relate. It's not fun.
no.
But I can sit for an hour, but not much longer. So
Lie down if you need to.
I should. I'm here anyway.
Good.
And just thinking about what Kat was saying, this year I've had a lot of barriers, like every year that I've been writing. And what I'm pleased about is I still love writing, and I still am keen to do it regardless of the barriers.
Good girl.
So that's a positive for the year, that
Yes.
it hasn't taken that away.
That is a positive.
Yeah. And I have made a little bit of progress on the book. I'm on to the editing stage, so I'm happy with that, even though it's not.
No, no,
as
no, no, no. I'm happy with that, full stop.
I'm happy with that, full stop.
There you go. No, but no diminishing what you've done. Now we're celebrating, all right? We're celebrating. We're not beating ourselves for what we haven't done, what we should have done, what we wish we'd done. That's not what it's just I'm happy with that, full stop. So well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Awesome. I think we've all now. Juan, I don't know if you want to. I mean, you're new here. You're more than welcome to share if you want to. You don't. It's clearly don't have to, unless you feel like you've got something you want to contribute at this point. Up to you.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing the processes that all of you have. Sorry, is helping me a bit to start my own process.
Ask questions if you want. Juan, this is the best opportunity you've got to ask some questions of some pretty switched on peeps. So if you want to ask a question, do it with this group.
Okay. No, but all of this is new for me. I just thinking on writing a book because I told Andrew that for any reason I was chosen to any source. So I received messages and I had to write down many messages at 1 a.m. in the morning, 3 p.m. 3 a.m. I have many information, and I think it was the best way to share this information is in a book. It's easier way. I am also a NLP certified coach, and this year was a privilege to work with people and touching people and changes the people life in couples, in English and Spanish, and having the opportunity to help them to see the other perception of the life and changing the pattern that they have, negative thinking, emotional limiting beliefs. So I start applying all of this knowledge to myself and say, okay, I have to look the way to write the book. Looking for that, in some way, Andrew sent me a message in LinkedIn.
Like Sue's story.
Yes, and I was the only person I told him that got my attention because it's many things that are not really interesting, or trying to selling you things that you don't need. So Andrew got the point, and I don't know, the energy, the connection was there, and I just contact him and start talking just twice. And the process, I already started writing a book, but I need the help for a professional to some guidance, publishing the book and everything. So that's the idea with Andrew. Any help for anybody is very welcome. This year is something that I learned is to live in a permanent state of gratitude for everything. I stopped the idea of writing because I have a glaucoma operation in my eyes. It was difficult to stay on the screen for more than half an hour. So I stopped the idea because it was quite complex, the surgery. So now I try to keep with that and continue. The MRI is going to be with me. I have to continue. But I think these messages has to reach people, to help people to live better lives, to have more connection, better relationship with the partners, with the friends, with the family. Family is the first source of everything. So no, I don't know what question had what to do because all of
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we just open it up? Anyone that's got some advice for Juan, who's starting off on his journey, what would you say to Juan as he's launching off on this exciting journey?
Come into these groups without a doubt. Yeah. Saturday mornings, Tuesday nights, 2 meetings a month, and become accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Good advice.
And when you get stuck, call Andrew.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I-
Jeff. So,
I'd like to say too, Juan, I heard you say that you needed to write things that to help people that would
Yeah.
benefit. This is what Justin and I felt about our book too. And keep feeding that belief. Get it as clear as you can. Have clarity on what exactly you want to say and need to say, and try not to be discouraged or influenced about noise around you. Keep the focus on why you're doing what you're doing and write for that reason.
yeah.
Block out, as I said, outcomes and is this going to do whatever it's going to do beyond me writing it. Put heart and soul in the message you want to write.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's
So good.
great advice.
I
Wonderful.
would also say work towards a plan. It can be very easy to get lost in the passion and find it difficult to create a cohesive message. So if you have a plan to defer to when you're finding yourself wandering off into the ether, it's something to pull you back and recenter yourself. So, if you structure, just something, an outline, a guide, key points that you want to carry off and write in the book, it will help you to keep moving it forward.
That's great advice, Jim. And don't worry, Juan, we will definitely put together a plan for you, so you won't have to worry about that. But that's great advice. And the other thing that Sue said is great advice too, because there's always noise, isn't there? There's always noise, and you just got to be able to. Has anyone ever seen the movie For the Love of the Game with
No.
Kevin Costner? It's a baseball. He's a pitcher, and he's got this saying, because when he's pitching, like he's a major league pitcher, and when he's pitching, the noise of the crowd, the abuse, he uses this one statement. He says, "Clear the mechanism." Right. And when he says clear the mechanism, all of a sudden in the movie, you can imagine how the Hollywood producers have made the movie. All this noise that's so loud all of a sudden just disappears, and he's laser focused on the catcher. Bang, he pitches, and it's just a beautiful sort of symbol of, or reflection or analogy to just focusing on where you're heading, not all the other stuff that's happening around you. Sorry, Glenda, you were going to say something.
Yes, I second both of what Gemma and Sue said, but I sort of to add to that, and I know Andrew will help you with this, is even when you do have the plan, be flexible to that plan potentially too. Like I had a structure, and I actually changed my structure quite considerably quite late in the piece, and I ended up with a much, much better book, I think, because of it. So there was a point at which I got a little bit stuck in the structure and the plan. So it's, yes, have the plan, have the structure, I think, to be able to focus, but also don't beat yourself up too much, because I went through a bit of a process where I was beating myself up too much when I was changing from that structure, and I really had to let go of some of the old before I could really move on to what was going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know Angela helped.
That's awesome advice, Glenda, and I can attest that. I mean, when I wrote my book, Dance Until It Rains, I had a structure that I was so determined to stick to, and then I got it to the editors, and they told me, "No, this is no good. We've got to change it." And I'm thinking, "What? You can't change it?" And now I'm so grateful that we did change it. So yeah.
Well, I can say that with my book that's almost finished, I've been, I started off before the pandemic, and the pandemic, because my book's not in the health sector, the pandemic just turned it on its head, and I had to do a massive change, but it wasn't difficult to do. I don't expect it all to be hard work. Some of it's easy and good fun, and yeah, I had to be flexible and go, oh, this isn't going to work now. Things have changed.
New content.
New content, yeah.
Yeah.
I think being flexible is a really good idea.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Deb.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I think all of them are so valuable and has to be taken into account because you have experience in the process. I think flexibility is necessary in all things in life. We have to be adaptable. So, and enjoy the process, and the result will be coming.
He knows his stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah, yes.
He could be coaching us.
Happy to do it.
Awesome. Now, Sue Smith, you said before you had a question.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, well, we've got some time for you to ask your question.
Very kind. Well, actually, it's all kind of overlapping on a lot of this stuff, you know, Kat's kind of decision to let go and other people just going for it. And my question is, when you've got a book that you wrote a little while ago and you've been dipping back and forth and it's been, you know, kind of, yeah, no, I think I'll do it. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, no, I think I'll do it. No, I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm looking at, my question is edit tips. So I've got edit tips. And listening to Gemma, I really like that, you know, kind of being flexible, but also having a plan, having a structure, but letting it be creative. Also, at the end of the day, we're all creative. That's why we're here. But you need structure. You know, so I've got, the question is editing. Are there any kind of key tips that can keep it on the shelf or off the shelf, you know, not putting it on the shelf, not kind of that you would give in that you've used that's worked? So basically I need to go back to a book that I've done all the chapters, but I'm really anxious about going back and thinking, oh, just bin it. Just bin it. What do you do? And it's been a bit of a while. And then as I've gone through the year, I'm actually living a lot of this stuff. So as we do, a lot of the content of the book is what we all do. So I've personally grown and changed as a person. So some of that would be quite useful content in the book, possibly, maybe not. And then I've got little kind of ideas. So how do you do it? I suppose partly I'm curious about what Gemma would do because of her phenomenal successes, but everyone here, Justin, everyone that's actually thought, this is what I do. Over to you guys.
Start, Jamie.
Yeah, I'll start. I guess one of the questions I would actually put back at you is, how do you like to read? Do you like to read via a computer or printed?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not good on computer, but I do read Kindles. So I struggle, I really do struggle with, so if I have long stuff to read, I often will print it out, which is driving my husband mad. Yeah. Because I like, and that is actually really relevant because this is the...
It's actually the first reason I ask it is because when I first started my first book and my second book, I did all the edits on written and I did it with a red pen. So I printed it out in order and I would just pick up whatever I could fit in that window of time. I would settle into a comfortable chair and I had my red pen next to me and I would just read it as a story and I would make little notes as I went along. When I got to my third book, I did it all via computer because I had evolved a little bit in terms of how I was reading and how I was managing work. So I then did the edits and adjusted the term like live as I went through. There's two other things that I do as well. One is don't be afraid to realize that something's missing. So my first book, I actually introduced at the very final stages of editing a brand new chapter 1. So if something misses within the structure when you actually read it and then you have someone else read it, that's generally where you'll get it. So if people ask you questions, which inherently you know the answer to, and they're asking you those questions, that's something you've got to find an answer for. So the first thing I would always do is, if you like to read it via paper, print it and have a pen which you're comfortable to add notes in and little edits in. You can also use a program to do your grammatical checks. So something like Grammarly or some of those sorts of options where you put it in before you print it out and you do the grammatical checks through that process. Some you won't accept depending on the type of book you're writing, but it will pick up things like, I'm notorious for not putting commas in really long sentences. I've gotten better as I've gone along with my writing. My first book, my second book, I had very long sentences, which I had to truncate down as I went through. That problem is now not there so much, so it doesn't actually need to be truncated as much. But I also then reduced down the size of my chapters. So I used to write about 3,000 words per chapter. I now write about 2,500 words. So I've actually already started condensing that naturally as I go through. But yeah, so the first one I would do would be either do the grammatical check through a program, or just print it off if you're very comfortable with your grammatical side, then print it off with a paper, and then you get started that way. Once you've done a check yourself, I would then give it to someone that you trust, someone that is going to give you honest feedback, but also someone who's probably, so my sister is very good at grammar and English, so she actually is my edit check for the stuff that the Grammarly doesn't pick up and that I don't pick up. So she's kind of that next stage, but she'll always come back to me with questions as to, I don't know what this is. Will you answer this question? Are you meant to be answering this? So there's a few things that'll come through naturally from her questioning of me. And her questioning's actually gotten better because she now reads every one of my books before they go back off into the publishing sector. So I have a few checks before it moves into the actual sending it to a publisher and those sorts of things.
Wow, there you go. You could write a book about that, Jem.
Yeah,
You're
and
right.
Jeff, at the top, it's this kind of psychological frame up to it that you mentioned comfort and having a nice pen and being comfortable with what you're doing. Because I think I'm like kind of a little rabbit, and there's loads of rabbit holes going, all the way down, all the time, So I'm anxious about going down that rabbit hole and then thinking, I'm going to end up in some other place, and then I'll never get there. So
yeah, I write and edit very differently. So when I write, where I'm sitting right now, I've actually restructured my office to make it work better for me. So I have a little nook for my laptop. So at the end of my workday, I pull it out, start writing. And so I do all of my writing at my desk. I don't do any of my editing at my desk. It's just not comfortable to read at my desk. Yeah. I do business reading at my desk, not actual reading and getting into a story or a structure or any of those sorts of things. So I do think that there is an element of allowing yourself, what we talked about earlier, the flexibility to not be so rigid. So if you have too many distractions at home, for example, and you like to read by the seaside or what have you, go into your car, take a printout of one of your chapters, sit and edit with a cup of coffee in front of the beach. Depending what it is, it doesn't have to be fixed to the way you would write, because you're not limited to just having your laptop with you.
That's a great tip. Really good tip.
That's awesome. Good on you, Jem. Thanks for all that. Anyone else? We haven't got a lot of time yet, but if anyone else has got some thoughts they want to share with Sue.
Yeah. Just a thing, when you said, Sue, you living it. So I'm not sure what your book's about, but I'm assuming you are still accumulating information and data and experiences and ideas. And that was one of the challenges that I had, is because my book is full of stories and my own stories and experiences. And so one of the things that I did have to do was put a line in the sand as to how far I was going to go. And especially because I'm still getting new experiences. So I did have to, at a point, decide I wasn't going to include any other things, which was kind of hard, but because you are learning something every day. The other thing that I did have to do is, again, because I think yours might be some of the same things, is because my ideas were changing and I was maturing, I wanted to suddenly write, oh, but that's related subject matter, so I'm going to include that, and that's related subject matter, so I'm going to include that. And I had to make conscious decisions to exclude some of that. By the same token, I also made conscious decisions to include some of it. So I think it's a normal part of the journey as well. When you're doing a subject matter that's maybe not a story, it's information you're gathering, is almost consciously making decisions along the way. This is going to take me down a rabbit hole I'm not going to go down, or this is taking me down a rabbit hole that I do have to go down because it's valuable for the purpose of what I'm trying to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, probably about right. So I think the line in the sand would be the end of this year, really. That's what I'm looking at. And then anything more is then this almost like editing, do I include or not include things? So it's quite good, actually.
Once I had a publisher, it helped, because then I started setting dates, and then I knew I had to just cut it off. Until then, it was a lot easier to just keep getting sidetracked. So I must say, for me, that helped position a line in the sand, was when I got to that point.
I'm happy that, obviously in the background, Andrew, and whatever they want to say, look, if they might well change the whole thing anyway, so don't get too attached, do they? So I'm not, I'm relatively realistic about that too.
Yeah.
Can I just say one last thing with the editing? I do print off when I write, and I read it aloud. My voice guides me for punctuation. I can hear it. I can hear the flow of the rhythm. If I start in the middle of a sentence, obviously it's not working. Something's happening. So I do that usually the next day. I write a piece, I print it off. The next day before I start, I read aloud, and it's given me an overnight to let it settle and see what's on the page rather than what is in my head. So I read it, I see what I've left out, where the words are left out, where the punctuation might go, and where I want the emphasis or the inflection, so I can adjust punctuation. That's always works for me.
Yep, that's awesome. The other thing you can do is my weekly blogs, I actually get there's a read aloud function on Word. So I just hit read aloud and it reads it aloud to me and I can hear it. And I go, oh, that doesn't sound so good. It's a bit of a robotic voice, but you can still hear the punctuations and the flow, and it picks up, as Kat says, you catches typos. So that's a good thing to do as well. Anyway, I think we've had some powerful stuff tonight. And so I want to firstly say thank you everyone who's contributed, which is all of you today. Well done for everything that's happened to this point in 2023. You're amazing, incredible. Please don't give up, don't stop yet. The year is we've still plenty left. There's still hours and hours and hours and hours left in 2023 to do something great. If I don't see you before the end of this year, have an amazing Christmas, New Year, holiday, whatever you celebrate. Wonderful holiday season, and just know how grateful I am for all of you. And I wouldn't be running these forums if you didn't show up. I'd be sitting here by myself, and it's much more fun when you're here. I'm learning, I'm being inspired. So thank you everyone for everything that you do, and we'll see you all as a group again in 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.